So, how do we move ahead on this knowledge? As usual, the devil is in the details. You are in a better position than I to make such suggestions about the situation in BC, but I can certainly help the process by providing examples of others' initiatives, successes, and failures. I can also make some suggestions about the type of information that will be useful for moving ahead. I have formulated these in terms of 2 questions for you to consider, here and in your research institutions. They recognize that the greatest contribution to regional development comes from the assets and capacities inherent in those regions. The problems are most often related to our failure to see them as a result of inflexible organization, entrenched interests, institutional or geographical isolation, or lack of imagination. The first question to ask, therefore, is what are the current regional assets and capacities, and where are they located? Of course, this depends on what you want to do, but I'm assuming this is reasonably well identified, especially for those of you in the government sector. So when thinking of your answers to this, don't remain limited to your department, municipality, or habitual sphere of activity. When the town of Warner, Alberta was faced with the financial burden of their local arena, they redefined it as an asset by opening a hockey school for young women and now have expanded it into a year-round hockey residential school serving students from all over North America. When the firefighters in Barriere were faced with the problem of communicating and checking on residents scattered throughout the region, they turned to the local ATV club, the Quad Squad as they called it locally, to provide notification, evacuation, and security support. The city of Inuvik discovered that the best insurance for sustainability in their boom-bust economy was to build their social infrastructure, as much or even more than the physical infrastructure. This photo pictures the community greenhouse they built out of the old arena, a structure that not only gave them fresh vegetables but served as a social and training center for all ages. They reasoned that if people liked living there, they would be highly motivated to find solutions to the challenges emerging during both the low and the high parts of the boom-bust cycle. This reinforces the wisdom of your 7th action item. Vibrant communities are indeed the best hope for meeting the uncertainties of the new global conditions. It gives the tools for action to the people who most care. All of these examples illustrate the critical importance of local knowledge. Identifying assets and potential assets is not a simple process of constructing an inventory. It needs extensive input from specific people who are familiar with specific places. The people of Warner knew their arena was in trouble, and they knew how to seek an appropriate hockey coach. The people of Barriere were the ones most concerned about the condition of their neighbors and the availability of the Quad Squad. And the people of Inuvik were daily confronted with the challenge of $9 per kilo for tomatoes and the availability of the old arena. The realization of the connection between communication across the traditional boundaries is reflected in the genius of Quebec's decision to place its health, economic development, education, and social services officials around the same table and in some cases in the same building. It facilitated the requirement of outside support to organize, train, and legitimate their authority.